The cards hit the table with a sound that echoed through the golden nugget like thunder. Marcus Chen, once worth $47 million, now stared at his final bet. Everything he had built over. The croupier, a woman named Alina who had worked these tables for 2 decades, looked at Marcus with eyes that had seen countless dreams shatter. She knew something he didn't. Something that would turn this devastating loss into the most incredible comeback in casino history. $22 million. That's what Marcus would walk away with just 4 hours later. But this isn't a story about luck. This isn't about counting cards or casino tricks. This is about the moment when a broken man met someone who saw potential where others saw failure. About trust formed in the darkest hour. About how the most unexpected teacher can show you what you've. Marcus Chen sat in his empty corner office on the 42nd floor, looking down at the Las Vegas Strip through floor-to-ceiling windows. The city that had made him rich was about to take everything away. His construction empire, built over 3 decades, was crumbling. The bank foreclosure notices lay scattered across his mahogany desk like fallen leaves. 30 years, he whispered to himself. 30 years of 12-hour days, of missing birthdays and anniversaries, of building something that mattered, and it's gone. His phone buzzed. Another creditor. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed his coat and walked out of the office he would never see again. The elevator descended 42 floors, each floor representing a year of his life's work dissolving. The Nevada sun blazed overhead as Marcus walked down the strip. Tourists laughed and gambled, oblivious to the broken man moving through their midst. He found himself standing before the Golden Nugget, its neon sign flickering in the afternoon heat. Marcus had never been a gambler. He believed in hard work, not chance. But today, with $7,000 in his checking account, all that remained of his fortune, he walked through those casino doors. The air inside was thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. Slot machines chimed their electronic songs while players fed them quarters like hungry birds. Marcus made his way to the blackjack tables, drawn by some invisible force he couldn't understand. Alina Martinez had been dealing cards at the Golden Nugget for 23 years. She had seen every type of player, the optimists, the addicts, the tourists, the professionals. But when Marcus Chen sat down at her table that Tuesday afternoon, she immediately recognized something different. His hands shook slightly as he placed his first bet, $100. Alina dealt the cards with practiced precision. "First time playing blackjack?" she asked, her voice gentle but professional. "First time gambling at all," Marcus replied, studying his cards. "King of hearts, 7 of clubs, 17. Alina's up card showed a 6. Basic strategy said to stand. Marcus tapped the table. "Hit me." The card was a 421. "Beginner's luck," Alina said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She had seen this before. First-time gamblers often won their initial hands, only to lose everything chasing that first high. Marcus played for 2 hours, methodically betting small amounts. He won some hands, lost others. Alina watched him carefully. Unlike most players, he wasn't emotional. He studied each hand, made calculated decisions, treated it like a business problem to solve. "You're different from most players," Alina said, during a brief lull. "How so?" "Most people play with their hearts. You're playing with your head." Marcus looked up at her for the first time. Alina was perhaps 50 years old, with kind eyes that held decades of wisdom. Her dealer's vest was impeccably clean, her movements precise and graceful. "I'm a businessman," Marcus said. "Was a businessman. I built the Chen Construction Company from nothing. We did hotels, casinos, office buildings, employed 300 people. What happened?" Marcus hesitated. He had never told his story to a stranger, especially not to a casino dealer. But something about Alina's demeanor invited honesty. "I trusted the wrong person. My business partner, James Riley. We were childhood friends. I focused on construction while he handled finances. Turned out, he had been embezzling for years, using our company accounts to fund his own gambling debts. By the time I discovered it, we were $12 million in debt." Alina continued dealing cards to other players while listening intently. "The banks called in our loans. Creditors seized our equipment. Everything I built is gone. My workers lost their jobs right before Christmas. Families depending on me, and I let them down. What about your partner? Disappeared. Probably in another country by now, living off my life's work. Alina dealt Marcus another hand. This time, he received 2 aces. Split them, she suggested quietly. Marcus looked confused. I don't know how. Place another bet equal to your first. I'll give you 2 separate hands to play. Marcus followed her advice. On the first hand, he received a 10, 21. On the second, a 9, 20 again. You just doubled your money, Alina said, pushing chips toward him. As the evening progressed, other players came and went, but Marcus remained. Alina noticed his pile of chips growing slowly but steadily. More importantly, she saw him learning. He asked questions, absorbed information, adapted his strategy. Alina, said a voice behind them. The floor manager, a thin man named Robert, approached the table. Take your break, Sandra will cover. Alina glanced at Marcus, then at Robert. I'll finish this shoe first. Now Alina. Something in Robert's tone made Marcus look up. The interaction seemed tense, unusual for a routine break request. Alina gathered her cards with practiced efficiency. Good luck, Mr. Chen, she said softly. The replacement dealer, Sandra, was younger and less experienced. She dealt quickly, impersonally. Marcus found himself missing Alina's steady presence and occasional strategic hints. During the break, Alina sat in the employee lounge, staring at a cup of coffee she hadn't touched. Her supervisor, Robert, entered and closed the door behind him. You're getting too friendly with that player, Robert said. I'm being professional. You're giving him advice. Helping him win. Alina looked up sharply. I'm dealing fair games, nothing more. The house has noticed. He's up $4,000. That's unusual for a first-time player. Maybe he's naturally good at it. Robert leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. Alina, you've worked here 23 years. You have an excellent record. Don't jeopardize your career for some stranger. What are you suggesting? Just deal the cards. No conversation, no advice. Let the game take its natural course. Alina understood the implication. Casinos made money when players lost. Friendly dealers who helped players succeed were bad for business. When Alina returned to her table, Marcus was down to his last few $100s. Sandra had been dealing aggressively, and Marcus, without Alina's guidance, had made several costly mistakes. Welcome back, Marcus said, genuine relief in his voice. Alina nodded, but remained silent as she took over the deck. She dealt the next hand without comment. Marcus received a 12. Alina showed a 10. Basic strategy said to hit, but Marcus hesitated, looking to Alina for guidance. She said nothing, maintaining a perfectly neutral expression. Marcus hit, and busted with a 10. He lost another hand, then another. Within 30 minutes, he was down to his final $200. This is it, Marcus said, pushing all his remaining chips forward. Alina dealt the cards. Marcus received a king and a jack. 20. Blackjack. Alina flipped her down card, revealing a 7 to go with her, showing 6. 13. She hit and received a 9. 22 bust. Marcus had won, doubling his last bet to $400. Congratulations, Alina said professionally. Marcus studied her face. The warmth from earlier was gone, replaced by cold efficiency. Something's wrong, he said. I'm just doing my job. Earlier, you were helping me. Now you're different. Alina glanced around the casino floor. Robert was watching from across the room. I need to be more professional, she said quietly. Marcus understood. Someone had spoken to her about being too friendly with players. He had worked in business long enough to recognize corporate pressure. I should go, Marcus said, gathering his modest winnings. As Marcus stood to leave, Alina made a decision that would change both their lives. Mr. Chen, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Meet me at the coffee shop across the street when my shift ends, midnight. Marcus nodded and walked away, leaving Alina to deal cards to the next player, her mind racing with possibilities. At midnight, Marcus sat in a nearly empty coffee shop, nursing a cup that had long since gone cold. He wasn't sure Alina would come. Why would she risk her job to help a stranger? The door chimed, and Alina entered, still wearing her dealer's uniform. She looked around nervously before sitting across from Marcus. "I could lose my job for this," she said. "Then don't do it. I appreciate what you've done already." Alina shook her head. "You don't understand. I've been watching players for 23 years. I've seen thousands of people lose everything they have. I've seen marriages destroyed, families torn apart, dreams shattered." She paused, collecting her thoughts. "But I've also seen the ones who could win. The ones with discipline, intelligence, and, most importantly, the ability to walk away. You have all three qualities." "Alina, I lost my entire business empire because I trusted the wrong person. I'm not sure I have good judgment about anything anymore." "That's exactly why you might succeed. You're cautious now. Careful. The overconfidence that destroyed your business could never destroy you in a casino, because you don't have it anymore." Marcus leaned forward. "What are you suggesting?" "There's a high-stakes game tomorrow night. Private room, invitation only. The minimum buy-in is $50,000. I don't have $50,000. I have $400. Alina smiled for the first time that evening. "I know someone who might be willing to back you. Someone who owes me a favor." She explained about Tommy Castellano, a former player who had won big at her table years ago. Alina had covered for him once when he was counting cards, warning him about casino security. Tommy had promised to return the favor someday. He's clean now, runs a successful restaurant chain, but he still loves the action. "If I vouch for you, he might provide the steak." "Why would you do this for me?" Alina was quiet for a long moment. "My husband was a construction worker. Worked for a company that went under when the owner fled with the pension fund. Left 200 families with nothing. My husband never recovered from the betrayal. He started drinking, lost job after job." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "He died 5 years ago. Liver failure. But before he died, he told me that not all business owners were crooks. He said someday I might meet one who was different. Someone worth helping." Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. "I'm sorry about your husband. His name was David. He would have liked you." The next morning, Alina arranged a meeting between Marcus and Tommy Castellano at his restaurant, Romano's off the strip. Tommy was a large man with silver hair and kind eyes, wearing an expensive suit that couldn't hide his blue-collar roots. "Alina tells me you need backing for the Bellagio game," Tommy said over coffee. "I can't promise anything," Marcus replied honestly. "I might lose everything." Tommy laughed. "Son, I didn't get rich by making safe bets. Alina says, you're different. That's good enough for me. What do you want in return? If you win, we split it 60-40. You keep 60%. And if I lose, then we both learned something about trusting strangers." That evening, Marcus found himself in a private gaming room at the Bellagio, surrounded by players who looked like they belonged there. Oil executives, tech entrepreneurs, real estate moguls, men and women accustomed to high-stakes decisions. The buy-in was $50,000. Tommy had provided the stake, and Marcus carried the weight of that trust as he took his seat at the table. The dealer was a professional Marcus didn't recognize, a young man with steady hands and an impassive expression. This wasn't the friendly environment of Elena's table. This was business. The first few hands were cautious affairs. Marcus played conservatively, getting a feel for his opponents and the rhythm of the game. He won some, lost some, staying roughly even as the night progressed. By 11 o'clock, 3 of the original 8 players had been eliminated. Marcus was down to 38,000, having lost 12,000 in a series of bad hands. Then, everything changed. A new player entered the room. James Riley, Marcus's former business partner and the man who had stolen his fortune. James looked exactly as Marcus remembered, tall, handsome, confident, wearing a $1,000 suit. He carried himself like a man without a care in the world. "Well, well," James said, noticing Marcus. "Marcus Chen, what are the odds?" Marcus felt his chest tighten. "James, I heard about the business. Sorry, things didn't work out." The casual dismissal of 30 years of Marcus's work, delivered with a smile, nearly caused Marcus to lose his composure. But he remembered Elena's words about discipline and control. "Just deal the cards," Marcus said quietly. James bought in for $200,000, more than 4 times Marcus's remaining stake. He played aggressively, pushing other players out of hands with large bets. "Remember our poker games in college?" James asked Marcus during a break between hands. "I always said you were too conservative, too afraid to take real risks." "I remember you always cheated," Marcus replied. James laughed. "I prefer to think of it as creative problem solving." As the night wore on, other players dropped out, unable to match James's aggressive betting. Soon, only Marcus and James remained at the table, with two other players holding small chip stacks. This was it. The confrontation Marcus had imagined 1,000 times since discovering James's betrayal. James had nearly 300,000 in chips. Marcus had dwindled to 25,000. "Tell you what, old friend," James said. "Let's make this interesting. One hand, winner takes all. I don't have enough chips to match your stack. I'll stake you the difference. If you win, you get everything your original stake, plus my winnings. If I win, you walk away with nothing, but I'll consider us even. No more debts, no more hard feelings." Marcus looked at his meager chip pile. $25,000. All that stood between him and complete destitution. If he lost, he would have nothing. If he won, he would have enough to restart his life. But more than money was at stake. This was about justice, about proving that honest work and integrity could triumph over deception and betrayal. "Deal the cards," Marcus said. The dealer shuffled with methodical precision. The other players watched in silence, understanding they were witnessing something extraordinary. Marcus received his cards: Ace of Spades, King of Hearts, Blackjack. James peeked at his cards and smiled. Interesting. James had been dealt to tens. 20, a strong hand, but not strong enough to beat Blackjack. "Wait," James said, "I want to split these tens." Splitting tens was almost always a bad play. Any basic strategy guide would advise against it. But James placed an additional bet and requested 2 more cards. The dealer hesitated. "Sir, are you sure you want to split tens?" "I'm sure." James received a 9 on his first 10, giving him 19. On his second 10, he received an ace. 21 looks like we both have 21, James said. "That's a push. We play again." Marcus looked at his cards again, ace and king. Natural blackjack. "No," Marcus said quietly. "Blackjack beats 21. Natural blackjack always beats 21, made with more than 2 cards." The dealer nodded. "Mr. Chen is correct. Natural blackjack wins." James's confident smile faltered. "That's not how we played in college." "This isn't college," Marcus replied. The dealer pushed the entire pot toward Marcus. $325,000. Marcus had turned Tommy's $50,000 stake into more than 6 times that amount. But, more importantly, he had defeated the man who had stolen his life's work. James stood abruptly, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "This isn't over, Marcus." "Yes, it is," Marcus said calmly. "It's been over 4 months. You just didn't know it." James stormed out of the room, leaving Marcus alone with the dealer and 2 other players who applauded quietly. But Marcus's night wasn't finished. As he was cashing in his chips, the casino manager approached him, a well-dressed woman named Patricia Williams. "Mr. Chen, congratulations on your win. I'm Patricia Williams, casino manager. I wonder if we might speak privately." They walked to her office, a elegantly appointed room overlooking the casino floor. "I understand you're in the construction business," Patricia said. "Was in construction. My company went bankrupt." "I know. I also know it wasn't your fault. We've been investigating James Riley for some time. He's been using various casinos to launder money, including funds he stole from your company." Marcus leaned forward. "You have evidence. Enough to interest the FBI. But we need someone who understands his business operations. Someone who can help us trace the money. What are you offering?" "Full cooperation in recovering your stolen funds, and possibly a new business opportunity." Patricia explained that the Bellagio was planning a major expansion, including a new hotel tower and conference center. They needed a construction company with integrity and expertise. "Your reputation for honest work preceded your company's collapse," Patricia said. "Everyone knows you're not responsible for your partner's crimes." Marcus felt a stirring of hope he hadn't experienced in months. I'd need to rebuild everything. Hire new workers, lease equipment, establish credit. We have relationships with banks and suppliers. References would be provided. The project is worth $47 million. $47 million. Exactly what Marcus had been worth before James's betrayal. But Marcus had learned to be cautious. Why me? There are dozens of established construction companies in Las Vegas. Because you understand what it means to lose everything through someone else's dishonesty. Our industry has too many people who cut corners, who prioritize profit over integrity. We want to work with someone who values both quality and character. As Marcus walked out of the Bellagio at 3 in the morning, his mind was spinning. In one night, he had won back a significant portion of his losses and received an offer that could restore his entire career. But he knew none of it would have happened without Elena's intervention. He found her finishing her shift at the Golden Nugget, dealing cards to a few late-night players. How did it go? She asked, during a brief break. Marcus told her everything. The confrontation with James, the massive win, the meeting with Patricia Williams. You did it, Elena said, her eyes bright with genuine happiness. We did it, Marcus corrected. None of this would have happened without you. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a check for $50,000. This is for Tommy. His investment, plus a reasonable return. Elena nodded. He'll be pleased. Marcus hesitated, then pulled out another envelope. This is for you. Elena opened it to find a check for $100,000. Marcus, I can't accept this. Yes, you can. You saw potential when everyone else saw failure. You risked your job to help a stranger. This is a small token of my gratitude. Elena wiped away a tear. What will you do now? Rebuild, start over, do it right this time. And James. The FBI will handle James. He'll face justice for what he did to me and to everyone else he hurt. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the construction trailer, overlooking the new Bellagio Tower project. Chen Construction Company was back in business, employing 47 workers with more being hired each week. Elena had quit her job at the Golden Nugget, using Marcus's gift to open a small coffee shop near the construction site. It became a regular meeting place for Marcus and his crew. A place where honest work was celebrated and integrity was valued above all else. Tommy Castellano became an investor in Marcus's new company, providing capital and business connections that helped accelerate their growth. As for James Riley, the FBI investigation led to his arrest in the Bahamas. He was extradited to face federal charges for embezzlement, money laundering, and fraud. Marcus testified at his trial, not with anger or revenge, but with the calm dignity of someone who had found peace with justice. Sometimes, Marcus told a reporter covering the trial, you have to lose everything to discover what you're truly capable of winning. The trial ended with James sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution to his victims. On the 1-year anniversary of his devastating loss at the Golden Nugget, Marcus returned to Elena's coffee shop. She was behind the counter, serving coffee to construction workers and casino employees, treating each customer with the same kindness and respect she had shown him in his darkest hour. Any regrets? Elena asked as she prepared his usual order. Marcus looked around the thriving business, then out the window at his construction project, where dozens of workers were building something that would last for generations. None, he said. Sometimes, the most incredible recovery begins when you think all hope is lost. Elena smiled. David would have been proud of how this turned out. I think he would have been proud of you too. As Marcus walked to the construction site, he reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him from complete ruin to renewed success. It hadn't been luck that saved him. It hadn't been a miracle or a gambling system or a get-rich-quick scheme. It had been the kindness of strangers who saw potential where others saw only failure. It had been the willingness to trust again after betrayal. It had been the courage to risk everything when he had almost nothing left to lose. But most of all, it had been the recognition that true wealth isn't measured just in dollars, but in the relationships we build and the integrity we maintain, even in our darkest moments. The construction project finished ahead of schedule and under budget. Chen Construction Company expanded to employ over 200 workers. Elena's coffee shop became a Las Vegas institution, known for its community spirit and the owner's generous heart. And sometimes, late at night, when Marcus walked past the Golden Nugget, he would remember that Tuesday afternoon when his life changed forever. Not because of the cards he was dealt, but because of the woman dealing them who saw something worth saving in a broken man who had lost everything. That's the most incredible recovery of all, not just winning back money, but rediscovering faith in human kindness and the possibility of second chances. As Alina often tells customers at her coffee shop, sometimes you have to lose everything to discover what you're truly capable of winning. But you never have to do it alone. The most incredible recovery isn't about the money you win back. It's about the life you rebuild, the people you help along the way, and the legacy you leave behind. Marcus Chen learned that lesson one card at a time, one kind gesture at a time, one second chance at a time. And in the end, he won something far more valuable than $22 million. He won back his belief in the goodness of people and the power of hope to overcome even the most devastating losses. That's a jackpot that can never be taken away. But the story doesn't end there. 3 years after that fateful night at the Golden Nugget, Marcus received a call that would test everything he had learned about trust, redemption, and second chances. "Mr. Chen." The voice on the phone was unfamiliar, nervous. "My name is Sarah Riley. I'm James Riley's daughter." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in months, not since the trial had ended and James had been sent to federal prison. "What can I do for you, Miss Riley? I need to see you in person. There's something about my father's case that you need to know." They met at Elena's coffee shop the following afternoon. Sarah was a young woman in her late 20s, with intelligent eyes that carried the weight of shame and determination in equal measure. She worked as a forensic accountant for a firm in Phoenix, she explained, specializing in financial fraud cases. "I've spent the last 2 years tracing every dollar my father stole," Sarah said, her voice steady but strained. "Not for the FBI, not for the courts, but for myself. I needed to understand the full scope of what he did." Marcus listened carefully, remembering Elena's lessons about patience and giving people the chance to reveal their true intentions. "I found something the FBI missed," Sarah continued, sliding a thick folder across the table. "Hidden accounts, cryptocurrency wallets, overseas investments. My father stole far more than anyone realized." Marcus opened the folder to find detailed financial records spanning 5 years. The numbers were staggering. James had stolen over $18 million from various victims, not just Marcus's company. "There are 43 other victims," Sarah explained. "Small business owners, mostly. People like you who trusted him with their life savings. Families who lost their homes, workers who lost their pensions. Why are you telling me this?" Sarah's composure cracked slightly. "Because I want to make it right. Every penny of it. I've liquidated everything, my father's assets, properties he bought with stolen money, investments made with your funds. I've recovered nearly $16 million so far." Marcus was stunned. "Sarah, you don't owe anyone anything. Your father's crimes aren't your responsibility." "Maybe not legally," she replied, "but morally. I carry his name. I benefit from the education he paid for with stolen money, the privileges he provided using funds that belonged to other people's children." Over the next hour, Sarah explained her plan. She had created a victim compensation fund, working with attorneys to identify every person harmed by her father's schemes. The recovered money would be distributed proportionally based on each victim's losses. "There's more," Sarah said. "I've been working with the FBI to identify other cases where my father might have been involved. Similar patterns of fraud dating back 15 years. There could be dozens more victims we haven't found yet." Marcus was impressed by Sarah's thoroughness and dedication, but he sensed there was something else she wasn't telling him. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Your forgiveness," she said quietly. "And your help reaching the other victims? Many of them have given up hope of recovering anything. Some don't even know that additional funds have been recovered." Marcus thought about Elena's words from years ago, about seeing potential where others saw failure, about the power of second chances. "You have my forgiveness," he said. "You never needed to earn it. And yes, I'll help however I can." Over the following months, Marcus worked closely with Sarah to contact the other victims of James's fraud. It was difficult work, reopening old wounds and long-buried hopes. But gradually, they succeeded in distributing the recovered funds. Marcus was amazed by the resilience of the people they helped. There was Margaret Santos, a grandmother who had lost her retirement savings but used the recovery funds to open a small bakery. Robert Kim, a contractor who had lost his equipment financing but rebuilt his business stronger than before. Lisa Chen, no relation to Marcus, a single mother who had lost her college savings but used the recovered money to complete her nursing degree. Each person had a story of loss and recovery, of finding ways to rebuild their lives even when hope seemed gone. Marcus realized that his own experience at the Golden Nugget was part of a larger pattern. Ordinary people discovering extraordinary strength in the face of devastating setbacks. During this process, Marcus also learned more about Elena's background. She had been visiting her husband David's grave weekly for 5 years, telling him about the people she helped at the casino and the good that came from their meeting. He always believed that kindness was the most powerful force in the world, Elena told Marcus one afternoon. Even when he was dying, angry, and broken from what happened to him, he made me promise to keep believing in people's goodness. Elena had kept that promise, and it had changed Marcus's life. Now Marcus was learning to make the same choice, to believe in people's capacity for redemption, even when they carried the burden of someone else's crimes. The Victim Compensation Project took over a year to complete, but when it was finished, Sarah had successfully returned nearly $14 million to people who had given up hope of ever seeing their money again. At the final distribution ceremony, held in a community center in Las Vegas, Marcus stood before a room filled with 43 families whose lives had been touched by tragedy and redemption. 3 years ago, Marcus began, "I lost everything I had worked 30 years to build. I sat in this city feeling hopeless, angry, and betrayed. I thought my story was over." He paused, looking around the room at faces that reflected his own journey. "But I learned that losing everything isn't the end of your story. It's just the end of one chapter. The next chapter begins when someone sees potential in you that you can't see in yourself. When someone offers you a second chance you don't think you deserve. When someone chooses to help rather than judge." Marcus gestured toward Elena, who was sitting in the front row with tears in her eyes. Elena Martinez saw something in a broken man that he couldn't see in himself. Sarah Riley chose to take responsibility for crimes she didn't commit, to repair damage she didn't cause. These women represent the best of human nature, the willingness to lift others up even when you have every reason to walk away. The applause was thunderous, but Marcus wasn't finished. Every person in this room has experienced the most incredible recovery, not just of money, but of hope. You've proven that ordinary people can overcome extraordinary challenges when they refuse to give up, and when others refuse to give up on them. After the ceremony, Marcus, Elena, and Sarah sat together in the now familiar coffee shop, reflecting on the incredible journey that had brought them all together. "What's next?" Elena asked. Sarah smiled. "I'm starting a non-profit organization focused on helping fraud victims recover and rebuild. There are thousands of people out there who have been victimized by financial crimes and don't know where to turn." "And you?" Elena asked Marcus. "Chen Construction is expanding again. We're opening a training program for young people who want to learn skilled trades, giving them the same kind of second chance you gave me." Elena nodded approvingly. David would have loved that. As they sat together, Marcus reflected on how profoundly his life had changed since that desperate Tuesday afternoon when he first walked into the Golden Nugget. He had discovered that the most incredible recovery wasn't about winning back money or rebuilding a business. It was about learning to trust again, to hope again, to believe in the fundamental goodness of people even after experiencing the worst of human nature. The training program Marcus established became a model for other construction companies across the country. Elena's coffee shop expanded into a community center that provided financial counseling and job placement services. Sarah's nonprofit helped hundreds of fraud victims recover both their money and their faith in the future. And every year on the anniversary of that life-changing night at the Golden Nugget, the three of them would meet at Elena's coffee shop to remember David Martinez and all the other people whose stories of loss and recovery had taught them that no setback is permanent. No hope is ever truly lost. Sometimes, Alina would tell new customers who looked like they were carrying heavy burdens, "The most incredible recovery begins when you think everything is over." But it's not really about the money you win back or the success you rebuild. It's about discovering that you're stronger than you knew, and that there are people in this world who will help you become who you're meant to be. Marcus learned that lesson not just once, but over and over again as he watched other people find their own paths to recovery and renewal. The construction worker who became a supervisor after completing the training program, the fraud victim who started her own accounting firm to help other small businesses avoid financial crimes, the casino dealer who left the gambling industry to open a community center. Each story was different, but they all shared the same fundamental truth, that human beings have an extraordinary capacity for resilience, redemption, and renewal when they're willing to accept help and offer it to others. The most incredible recovery isn't a single moment of triumph. It's a lifetime of choosing hope over despair, trust over cynicism, and service over selfishness. It's the recognition that we're all connected, that one person's recovery can inspire another's. That kindness multiplies in ways we can never fully measure or predict. Marcus Chen learned that truth one card at a time, one conversation at a time, one act of generosity at a time. And in learning it, he discovered something more valuable than all the money he had ever earned or lost. The knowledge that every ending can become a new beginning, and every recovery can inspire someone else's miracle. If this story inspired you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever experienced an incredible comeback in your own life? What lesson would you share with someone who has lost everything? Your stories might just inspire the next person who needs to hear that second chances are possible. Remember, sometimes the most incredible recovery begins exactly when you think all hope is lost. Trust in the kindness of strangers, believe in your own resilience, and never underestimate the power of a single moment to change everything. Until next time, keep believing in the possibility of extraordinary comebacks.